Welcome to Amalgamblog College Football Report Overtime. This week in our Hometown Heroes segment, Furman and 11th ranked Clemson are playing one another. And so to mark these two teams playing one another, TJ and I recorded a conversation about the game. Now, to give you full disclosure, both TJ and I went to Furman and pulled for Furman. We don't have anything against Clemson, but that's where our biases lie. So just want to let you know that. But enjoy this little bit more in-depth than normal look into the Furman-Clemson game tomorrow. So, Furman, Clemson, what are your thoughts on the game?
Well, in Furman's plus category, I think they finally found their quarterback with Reese Hannon.
He was on the front page against Herald Journal Sports today.
That's awesome.
That's like the first time someone from Furman's been on the front page of Herald Journal Sports. And
it's digging for truffles in the ground to get anything out of any paper in the upstate. To battle Clemson for that. So, but he's from Greer, right?
Yeah, that's why. Because he's local.
Oh. There you go. Well, he had an awesome game against Coastal. It threw for I think 255 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's pretty incredible. And it's all speculation, but you think maybe if he had come in a little bit sooner in the game, maybe we had a chance of pulling out the W there. And I mean, I hate that for Dakota Derrick, but he just didn't show us much of anything through the first about game and a half he played.
It took Hannon a while to get warmed up in the game. Ironically, it was when the rain started in the second half that he really started to catch fire. Because we had to leave the game early because of Jim not feeling well, and I listened to the rest of the radio. But he came in, he played one offensive play in the first half, and he got by a mile, and I'm like, oh gosh, we're just gonna get blown out. And then he turned in. I mean, it's the best quarterback's played. I mean, in a while, especially a true freshman. I mean, he's only 18.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw how Furman did with good quarterback play last year when Chris Forcier was on his game. Like there's no stopping the offense. And in watching the Samford game, I was really pretty impressed by our defense. I just thought we were putting our defense in way too big a hole. I think Samford's average starting place had to be within their own, within our 50, almost most of the game. And your defense can only do so much when you put it in a hole like that.
Well, against Coastal, we did that several times too. We had another fumbled punt that put them inside. I don't remember if it's inside the 20 or inside the 10.
Yeah.
Which they gave them short field. I mean, overtime they were just gassed. But the defense is pretty good. The only time I feel like they really let us down was when we took the lead right before the end of regulation. We took the lead with 40 seconds left. And I think that might have been almost coaching because we played prevent, and they just threw it down the middle, and they kicked the long field goal to tie it up.
Prevent defense is a great way to give up points. It really is. As far as playing Clemson is concerned, I'm keeping my hopes in the realm of realism. I don't see much of a hope of Furman winning this game. I see there being some hope of making it a bit competitive. I mean, with any 1A school, I mean, depth is going to become an issue after a while, and especially with Clemson. Clemson's looking pretty good this year. Honestly, Clemson looks a lot like the same team last year so far.
When Auburn lost to Mississippi State last week, that made their first week victory a little bit more quizzical, I guess.
It made it a little more shallow.
Yeah.
As far as they did what they were supposed to do against Ball State, but nonetheless, I think they gave up about 250 rushing yards to Ball State, and even with the second teamers in, that's. It's not enough to make you scratch your head, but it is enough to make you say,
we don't really
how much has Brent Venables done so far?
Yeah, we don't really know a whole lot about them. We probably won't really know a whole lot about them until they play Florida State next week.
It's true. I think Furman would be well served to do what they normally do against bigger opponents, was to show a lot of option.
Definitely.
Furman has, in the past, Furman has made its hay running the option, and as schools in major conferences don't practice for it, and so I think they'd have a little luck working in the option pass, working in some, you're not going to use, those trick plays that you have sitting around. If you can't use them against the number 11 team in the country in FBS, I mean, who are you going to use them against?
Right, and that's the thing. I think this is probably the highest ranked FBS team that we've played in a long time in my memory. And so by all accounts, Clemson should wipe the floor with us. Should.
Yeah.
They're getting Sammy Watkins back. One of the things that, and of course, we've been a Jekyll and Hyde team for the first 2 games. So if we play as inconsistently as we played the first 2 games, then they will wipe the floor with us. If we play consistently, and if Clemson is looking ahead to next week on Florida State, we can make them nervous. I'm not going to say that we can beat them.
Yeah,
we can make it a little bit uncomfortable in Death Valley, which is mainly my basic hope. Usually, when we play a FBS team, is that we kind of scare them.
Right.
But that remains to be seen, because, like I said, I don't really we have good pieces on our team, but we've been shooting ourselves in the foot way too much over the last 2 games for us to really gain any traction on anything.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of a point I'm a little disappointed with the coaching staff, because the selling point on Bruce Fowler is that he was a no mistake guy, and so far, and you can't blame all that on him, but I was kind of hoping we'd play a little more disciplined than we are so far.
Right. Yeah. They take time, but it is interesting, because that is definitely one of the selling points. Well, before we wrap this up, because we've probably gone a lot longer than most people would care about Clemson on this, but You are primarily a South Carolina fan, but you're a very big Furman fan also. And so I just wanted to ask you, in a hypothetical realm, where would Furman beating Clemson be on your wish list of things that you'd like to see happen in college football? Obviously, South Carolina winning the national championship, that would be number 1. Probably winning the SEC would be number 2.
Yep. Listen, I would love it, but I would love it as a Furman fan. Honestly, I get a little exhausted with the Carolina-Clemson rivalry, because it's just so negative. I really don't wish all the worst on Clemson all the time. In fact, listen, I want Carolina to beat them in everything. That's how a rivalry goes. But as far as beyond that game, I would love it if Clemson was 11-0 and we beat them at the end of the season. I would love to beat a great Clemson team, and it makes us look better. It's better for the entire state. And so, if I would be elated, but I would be elated for Furman to win as a Furman fan, not as a Carolina fan wishing the worst on Clemson.
Right. For me, I think it would be second, and a distant second, but second only to a national championship.
Big deal.
Right under that would be winning the Southern Conference. And this is coming from someone who grew up in the state of South Carolina as a Furman fan. People don't usually think you're serious when you say you're a Furman fan in South Carolina. And so that's sort of once in a generation thing where, people would at least respect Furman a little bit more. It would mean a whole lot. Now, granted, if I had the power to pick a time for that to happen magically somehow, I would want it to happen while Jim was in at least elementary school. So that
there you go. He could take that to school with him.
Exactly. That is what every, I think, sports fan father wants for their child, is that sort of gift to give to their
Indeed.
Paid on. All right. Cool. This is fun. We might have to do this a little bit more often.
I'm up for it.
But, okay. Well, we'll wrap up this week of the College Football Report, but we'll see y'all next week.
All right.